You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is either going to be a great show or it's going to be kind of messed up because I had mere last seconds to try to make sense out of all of this. I had a show that I was going to play Thursday. I already told Jack about this. Then I had Jack on the show and he came and hijacked the whole damn show for 2 hours because he was so damn good and so damn interesting. I wish he'd stop doing that because then I didn't get to all of the politics that I wanted to get to. And so that made politics seep out of my pores. I mean, they were literally drizzling through my beard, the beard of justice. And so, you know, I couldn't do anything Friday. I couldn't do anything Saturday because we took Jake on a road trip. And so then I asked the ever-esteemed KLRN, Nick Robinson. I said, hey, you got 2 hours available on a Saturday? Nope, it's booked. You got 2 hours on a Sunday? We're there. So here I am on the air. The SHR Media Network, also simulcasted, clasper? That's what fish have. Look up clasper on a fish. You'll be embarrassed. So here I am on a Sunday night, the Sunday night special, basically saying how much more tolerance are we going to have to cough up? And so I said to everybody before the show, oh, by the way, I should show you my hat. It's perfect for tonight. See that? That stands for Against All Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. That's me because my oath never expired. I'm an oath keeper. I'm a sheepdog. I'm a silverback. And I'm in law enforcement, and that creates by and in and of itself a big problem. I didn't even get to go into my standard opening. Anyway, it's Sunday. It's December the 11th, the year of our Lord 2025. And I'm running on a whole bunch of places. Don't really know how many people are going to be here tonight watching and or listening because Sunday is not my normal night. And because it's not my normal night, well, there probably won't be that many listening or watching. Now, I've got Jack Alexander on, and here he is, one each, Jack Alexander, who, as you can see, that's his label, and as you can see, that's his desire. We are all desirous of various things. So I told Jack, in light of all the things that have occurred within the past couple of days, Jack said, hey, you know, I might have some information on what's been happening with regard to all the various shootings that we've had. And as the show indicated, it can't be Muzzies. No. Put that out of your mind. Well, I'm going to go into the Brown shooting because there's more information updated on that. We'll get to that. But today I'm putting Jack up front because I would like to have Jack as he was here on Thursday. This had not yet occurred. The Bondi Beach shooting had not yet occurred. And if there's anybody that would have more information about it, except the fact that he doesn't have more information about it, because where he is in Australia, it's verboten to find all kinds of websites to discover what's really occurring in your very own Australian background. So, Jack, if you would, let's start with this. There was a terror attack at Bondi Beach, 16 now dead. So you live in, what would that be? Southeastern Australia in Victoria. Mm-hmm. So from where you are, can you give us kind of a little bit of a geolocation as to where Bondi Beach is, where this occurred?
Okay, Bondi Beach is, let me pull that a little bit away from my mouth so I'm not screaming in my own ears. Bondi Beach is the premier tourist beach location. It's the most famous beach in Australia. It's in Sydney, in the suburb of Bondi, not far from where the first fleet actually landed when European settlement came here. I mean, anyone that goes to Sydney goes to Bondi Beach. There are reality TV shows made about the lifesavers that patrol that particular beach. As I said, it's one of the most famous beaches in the world, if not, certainly the most famous beach in the country. And it is usually the place where a lot of groups go on weekends, whether it be churches, community groups, and on, and have a day at the beach. The park area where this happened is set up so that people can come and enjoy a nice day at the beach. They can have barbecues. There are barbecue facilities supplied by the city council in that area. There's shelter and so on. And it's a short walk to some of the whitest sand you've ever seen, washed up from the ocean.
So in terms of Australia itself, Sydney, and obviously I booted this, Bondi Beach, where would they be in relationship to Australia? So again, people can kind of have a visual in their brain housing group.
Think of Venice Beach, California.
Okay.
Bondi would the best analogy would be Venice Beach in Los Angeles.
Okay. Alrighty. And then this occurred. We have the shooting. I've got some video to play. 16 dead. But Jack Alexander, can you fill us in on maybe some information, some general information, then perhaps some information that we just don't know and we haven't heard about? But I do have video. I'll play that later.
Yep. Okay. One of those 16 is the 50. One of the perpetrators. So at my last check, there were 15 innocent people killed in this. Another 45 people are currently in hospital in various stages. Now, out of the dead, there was the rabbi who had organized this particular community event for his synagogue. The youngest victim was a 10-year-old girl. The oldest killed was an 87-year-old survivor of the Nazi Holocaust. Out of the injured, there's obviously a lot of gunshot injuries, range ages through there, across the gambit from children through to the elderly. And in fact, quite a few elderly have been hit in this. I don't have a full number. I know 5 of those pictures of 5 people killed were certainly later on in life, and probably more than likely had mobility issues, so they couldn't run away.
Right.
One of the injured is a New South Wales police constable who was shot in the head. At this stage, he has lost one eye. He is and from the reports that I saw just while we were waiting to come on, in a press conference, the Chief of New South Wales Police has said that he is likely to lose all sight because of his injury.
Okay. I'm looking at the article now, and maybe you can fill in some gaps on this. There was a father and son that were involved. Mm-hmm. This says 16 people dead, but obviously one of them includes the father, not the son, who is he was shot, but he didn't die. So it truly 15, because the other one really doesn't make any difference. The dude that did it was a 50-year-old guy and his 24-year-old son. This is what I find puzzling. The father was a licensed gun owner with 6 legally registered firearms. All
Both
6
of them were licensed shooters in the state of Victoria.
Okay. All 6 of the firearms were recovered. Some recovered at the scene. The others were located and recovered when investigators executed search warrants at 2 separate locations. So fill us in. I'm familiar with 1996, but there were exceptions, and how, perhaps, as far as you can tell, were these exceptions such that these guys could get these firearms?
Okay, within the permissible firearms in Australia, certain firearms are allowed for hunting, sporting reasons, and pest control. None
By
of
pest
those.
control, you mean hogs and wild animals and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Most of the pest control stuff is usually farmers who are licensed to do that. Self-defense, there is no state in Australia that allows a firearm to be used in self-defense. So I want to make that evident up front. Now, both of these gentlemen have been through all of the background checks. They had done the mandatory gun safety courses. When they purchased these firearms, they waited the appropriate cool down period before getting them. The father all of these guns seem to have been registered to would have, on purchase of each of those firearms, had a visit from law enforcement to his home to inspect that the guns would have been stored as per the law. So the firearms in one gun safe with at least 2 separate locking mechanisms, given as they were bolt action rifles, the bolt and the ammunition stored separately in another lockable container. Now, prior to bringing home each of those firearms, and they would have only been allowed to buy one at a time, they would have gone through that inspection. Plus, they would have gone through the process of applying to get a certificate, a permission slip to purchase the ammunition, which would have required a gun test. Now, according to New South Wales Police, neither of these 2 gentlemen had popped up on their radar. Subsequently, our spy service has come up and said, yeah, actually, one of them was known to us. Yet they were still allowed. The spy service didn't bother to tell New South Wales Police, hang on, we have a problem with this guy. You might want to go and pay him a visit and just seize his firearms under the red flag laws until we clear him. That never happened.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I've had you on the show any number of times before, and we spoke about the 1996 confiscation and how some people actually went to prison over that. To enable this, like you say, there were some exceptions. Would it have been, well, let me back up a little bit. Do you think these guns were purchased closer to the 1996 confiscation or a little bit further down the line past 1996?
My inquiries with the public liaison with New South Wales Police today, they are not answering questions about when these guys came to the country.
Of
so
course,
I can't put a date on that. What I do know, as far as legal firearms, bolt action rifles with a magazine capacity of 5 or less, and double barrel shotguns. When it comes to long guns, that's pretty much it. Also some lever action rifles with a magazine capacity of less. When it comes to long guns, that's about it.
Okay. And I am assuming that pistols are right out. For the most part.
For the most part, there is some competition pistol shooting in Australia. It's mostly done with revolvers,
Okay.
or full-size semi-autos for certain individuals who jump through a lot of hoops to get there. But then again, their magazine, they have to be a full-size handgun, and their magazines are tagged at 6 rounds.
Okay, so if these people, well, apparently they had followed prescribed Australian strictures, complied with the law, had their visits, had a home inspection, a safe inspection, had to make sure that their certain items were stored very safely and separately from the firearms themselves, and apparently were in compliance with those rules prior to today at some point.
Yes. These, look, let me put this out there. These are the common sense gun control laws that gun grabbers in the US keep pointing to Australia, saying, look, it's working in Australia. It's not working in Australia. And given some of the video footage I have seen of these guys working the actions on these rifles, I'm especially the younger of the two. He worked that bolt with military precision. There was no wasted energy in the way he cycled that rifle.
Which would indicate practice and training.
Yes. In fact, an American was interviewed by one of the news services, and this interview seems to have fallen off their website, of an American tourist who videotaped some of it. He said this guy was military. His standing, his posture while shooting, up, he'd search out for a target, present, fire, and then back into cover while cycling the weapon, ready, already picking his next target. And I mean, we're talking fractions of less than a second to cycle this weapon.
Well, if you're trained, certainly. I can't think of the guy's name, but he got off 7 rounds from a revolver in 2.1 seconds. He's a pistol champ. So, if you train sufficiently on firearms, yeah, that's the guy, Michalek. Then, hey, what are you going to do? Outlaw training? Now, I'm going to this article. I'm going to put this back up here for just a minute. This is out of Fox. It says, there is very little knowledge of either of these guys by the authorities. The person was determined to be entitled to have a firearms license, and the person had a firearms license for a number of years for which there were no incidents. Then the other thing I find interesting that I'm not hearing many people talk about, 2 IEDs, improvised explosive devices, were found at the scene of one of the homes where search warrants were executed, and they were taken into possession by a bomb squad. They were active and they were rendered safe, which I don't know. These guys. Oh, there we go. Mission Ready Men, Jerry Michulik. Thank you, Mission Ready Men. Appreciate it. I should play that video sometimes. It's just incredible to watch. But with that said, so these guys somehow fell off the roster and decided that today was a good day and that was a location to do it, because otherwise, how can you think that there was anything other than a statement to be made?
Well, not only that, the Islamic community in Sydney are famous for starting riots at Bondi Beach. They have been the cause of many a race riot in that part of Sydney. And so I soon as I heard the location, and you and I were talking on a chat, and I'd mentioned this has happened, and I went, Muslims. Before I knew anything else, as soon as I heard the location, Bondi Beach, I knew it. An hour later, the confirmation came.
Well, the other thing, I'm going to jump ahead here just a little bit and see if I can put this.
Oh,
up.
and while you're searching for that,
yeah.
if you can bring up my other screen, I've got it queued up there. In the Islamic communities in Sydney last night, they were setting off illegal fireworks in celebration of the murders.
Well, that's quaint and fuzzy.
Now,
how wonderful is that? Well, it's the peace and tolerance of the religion of pieces and tolerance. Let me put this back up. I found this as I was digging around in the internet. Not like Australia and wasn't given a warning, or any other Western nation. Muslims chant "Gas the Jews" in Sydney, Australia. Oddly enough, back in October 2023, just a couple of years ago. But you also turned me on. Let me see if I can find this up in my vast ream of tabs here. You made mention of, hey, did you hear the story, BZ, of the guy with the flag, the Palestinian flag on Bondi Beach? Let's put this up. And so maybe can you fill in some cracks on this lovely person?
Yeah, this guy's riding along Bondi Beach on a horse at the full gallop, terrorizing people there, and actually running through. While he wasn't on the beach, he also was running through the park area where the Jewish community was setting up for this festival.
Police were called to Bondi Beach following reports a man was riding a horse on the beach in an unsafe manner. Officers spoke to the rider, a 20-year-old man, before he was issued a move-on direction, which he complied with. See, like this piece of media, like all the rest of our American media maggots, he's a man. The MS-13 guy was a father in Maryland. He was a Maryland father. He wasn't a gangbanger. And this guy isn't a muzzy and a Palestinian. He's just a man. And down also it says, it came days after pro-Palestine and pro-Israel groups clashed on the beach. So, yeah, isn't that nice? Folks, you can be, your heart can swell with justice and goodness, thinking that, well, we have to understand these people.
Yeah. Look, well, the one thing I found funny over the weekend, and I am considering, what I do for a living here at the moment, driving through past the state capitol building on a summer night, clear skies, nice warm out, the perfect temperature to be outside enjoying summer. No pro-Hamas protest out front of the state capitol building. Those assholes are there every time the sun's up. They get there just after dawn, so nobody else can set up before them. They occupy all the whole in front of the parliamentary building. Yet this weekend, which coincides with the first day of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, not a sausage. During the weekends when there's fair weather, they're marching down the streets and causing all not a sausage this weekend. And I thought that was strange at the time, but now I saw what was going on in Sydney, and all across Melbourne, Jewish Hanukkah public events are being cancelled because of risks of safety, and the fact that Victoria Police have said we don't have the manpower to protect you. It's funny, they've got more than enough fucking cops to protect the pro-Hamas rally, but not enough to protect the Jewish community.
Well, if it's not political, we can't get involved. If it's not anti-Australian or anti-Semitic, we can't be involved in any of that stuff. But, fear not, folks. It's not just in Australia where that's true. It's all through the United Snakes of America. Let me mention this. Jack pointed this out. It's time to do a break. But guess what, folks? BZ ain't going to do any breaks tonight. All I'm going to say is this.
Featuring verbosity, unrestrained, and a carnival of conservative cogitations. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, continues on the SHR Media Network.
Thank you, girls. Okay, you can go back now. The donuts are in the next room. Donuts and vodka. Speaking of vodka, here we go. And only the best vodka. Kettle One for them. Thank you very much. So probably for the rest of the show, no more long promos or anything like that, because there's just too much to go over. You indicated to me, Jack, that there was something that occurred in Amsterdam, and I have that queued up. But I want to fill in a few blanks that essentially in a 24-hour period, folks, Muzzies murdered 15 people because the guy, the shooter that got shot himself, the father, 50-year-old father, he doesn't count. So 15 people were murdered in Australia. Americans were killed in Syria. They Muslims plotted a Christmas massacre in Germany, but they were discovered. Forced a New Year's concert in France to be canceled due to violence. And of course, in Italy, set a nativity display on fire. So Muslims essentially are pretty much saying something similar to, yes, we are here to kill the infidels. We are Borg. You are here to assimilate with us. You must dance to our demands. And if you don't assimilate, we'll simply kill you. And years and decades, no one truly seems to believe them. Let me put this up. This is what occurred in Amsterdam. That's a Hanukkah concert in Amsterdam. Of course, this isn't plotted or anything, since it's the same day that Muslims murdered, it turns out 15 people in Australia. So just look away. Nothing to be seen here. Nothing to be concerned about. Let me go to what Jack. Now, let me ask you this question, Jack. I'm going to play this video. It says it's 10 minutes of the terror attack on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. By the way, where more than 1,000 people were in attendance, so it was similar to a target-rich atmosphere. And can you even find this through servers in Australia? Can Australians find out what happened to themselves?
When it first happened, yes. So when you and I were talking about this yesterday or late last night, my time, it was available. Now it's starting to get scrubbed. Okay.
Well, folks, let me start this.
I've just come up with another one which has just popped up. Apparently, the mother of the wife of this. Oh, my son was such a good boy.
Of course,
that's now running around. Anything pro-Muslim, is filtering through. I'm probably going to jump your gun here a little bit with the guy that wrestled the shotgun off the father. He was a Muslim. He's being praised, and look, rightfully so, for disarming him. The problem is he didn't kill, and I wouldn't be too surprised now if this guy is honor killed in the Sydney Muslim community. That his family is now targeted.
Put that in your tickler file in your mental cap and let me know if that in fact occurs. Since you mentioned that, I'll go back to the firing of numerous rounds, but let me go to the this bystander that you were talking about, disarming one of the terrorists who was armed with that long rifle. Let's play this.
Oh! Oh, mon gros!
Had the perfect shot, didn't take it.
Yep.
He could have ended that there.
I'm assuming that's the father.
Yeah. And then as law enforcement approaches, he does the right thing and shows that he's not. But this guy there bolts. Somebody throws a beer bottle at him.
Oh.
And he runs off to grab another firearm up on the bridge where his son was shooting.
Frankly, I'm a little surprised the son didn't shoot the guy that disarmed his dad.
He was actually shot twice.
The bystander who disarmed the dad?
The bystander has 2 gunshot wounds.
Okay, well, there you go. Then that was the son right there shooting in defense of his father.
I know there's not enough time to cover all the videos that show to this, but Colin Noir pointed out a good thing on his commentary about this incident. That numerous people within what would have been effective handgun engagement range were able to film with their phones and had just one of them had been carrying a handgun, the death toll would have been a lot lower.
Well, yeah, that reminds me of the Luby massacre in Texas. Yeah. Of all places, this was mid to late 70s. Guy goes into Luby's cafeteria in Texas, begins shooting people. A chick runs out to her car, who later, I think, became a Texas congressman. And by the time she was able to reach her firearm in her vehicle, it was all over. But hey, this is what you get in a polite society, because Australians and Americans primarily are stupid and want to be civilized in the face of uncivilized barbarians. And let me make no mistake, folks. I'll say it up front. Islam doesn't belong in America. Islam doesn't belong in any civilized society. There is no such thing as a moderate Muslim. The moderate Muslim is the person that's simply not doing it right.
No,
and as far as I'm concerned, if we don't get Islam out, there's going to be a very big problem.
The so-called moderate Muslims are the ones that are supplying the back-end support.
Here we go. We appear to have 2 types of Muslims. One, those who commit terrorism, those who cheer them on. We don't see too many of those who condemn them, except some of the Muslim politicians who call for terrorism, then pretend to condemn it after.
Actually, have you noticed when you do see Muslims condemning the violence, it's normally always a Muslim woman, never a male.
I wonder why. It's because they're on the wrong end of the Muslim shit stick. I suspect perhaps that has some validity right there. This is what I say to Australia, and I believe this is what's true for every damn nation. Not a single thing is going to change in Australia or America or the UK or Europe until the people rise up and take back their damn country. Not a single communist politician there or here feels bad about a few dead people on the beach. Not one. They still want to keep importing barbarians. Muslims are a barbaric death cult. There's nothing more simple than that. And if there were moderate Muslims, if such a thing occurred, if such a thing existed anywhere, they would be up in arms in the terrible plight that those who support terrorism is placing their religion of peace. But I don't see that. And the reason that there are no moderate Muslims is because they're either cowards or they don't exist. True moderate Muslims would get together in a group and denounce in a system, in a continuing systemic amount of announcements that we eschew and disregard and hate and despise all the killings and the murders and the terrorist acts that are done in the name of Islam. Because as I've said before for any number of years, Jack, you're 20 minutes over what I thought you were going to be on. And before we went on the show, you said, I'll be on longer. You know that. That's true. That is true. But in terms of a moderate Muslim, and folks, if you think Islam belongs here, this is not your show. And I am not your host. You need to go someplace else and listen to great smells and have a nice cup of steaming chai tea and rub the backs of your friends in Portland and Seattle and New York, blah, blah, blah. Muslims don't belong in this country.
Do you know what's really messed up?
And if we don't get a backbone, and I will say it again, they will procreate us because demography is prophecy. And folks, in case you think, oh, that fat bastard, he's just a racist. Well, Islam is not a race, folks. Where are the greatest number of Muslims in the world? Is it the Middle East? No, it's Indonesia.
80 miles north of Australia.
Yes, funny how that works out. So it's not the Middle East variety. Oddly enough, they don't seem to be blowing up Indonesia like they do the Middle East. Mission Brady Men in chat says, I've called for the banning of Islam, banning Muslims from the public office, banning burqas and all the Islamic head coverings, public call to prayer, all of it. Get it out. Well, wait, Earl. Completely concur with that. We are not compatible. Islam is not compatible with any form of Western civilization. And again, for the rest of the year and for the rest of 2026, until I cack from my factory-issued heart attack, you can be guaranteed that I'm going to continue to say this. People who allow Islam into their nations, their states, their cities are asking to be killed. And I was going to make a reference to BZ. Oh, gee, you're such a racist, or you're a Muzziphobe. I'm not afraid of Islam. What I am afraid of are the leftists who embrace Islam, the people on the LGBT square who want to embrace a Muslim, and then, oddly enough, you'll find yourself flying through the air like a bird without wings.
You know what's really crazy about my involvement with this tonight? It's not illegal for me to mention that the guy who wrestled the shotgun away from one of the bad guys was Muslim. It is illegal for me to point out the fact that 2 shooters were.
Well, the other thing that I want to point out, and one of the reasons that I was going here, is because, oh no, Mark 1, Model 1 white people are not going to be the only ones that are going to be replaced. It'll be all you loving Hispanics. It'll be all you loving Asians. It'll be all you loving blacks. Because particularly blacks in Chicago, do you see how Mayor racist King Brandon Johnson is not fighting for you, actual black Americans in Chicago? Oh no. He's fighting for the illegal invaders coming in and supping all your infrastructure and diverting all the things that could be going to you into other areas, into people that don't appreciate it. And he's doing it all for votes out of stupidity. So this has nothing to do with melanin. It has everything to do with Islam, which is a death cult.
And the same sort of financial corruption that's going on in Minnesota and so on. The predominantly Islamic communities in Australia are the highest drains on government benefits and social welfare programs.
Oh, I have stories about that.
I can't even go into what was a veterans-run hospital, the only Veterans Association run hospital in Melbourne anymore, because it was turned over to the public healthcare system, and the buildings and the clinics all leased off to the local public hospital. I walk in there, and while there's all this Australian military memorabilia on the walls, it's all getting defaced by the people that are coming in. I walk in there, and it's like walking into a free clinic in downtown friggin' Baghdad, and they're there, graffitiing, drawing over the pictures of famous Australians who died for their country, recipients of the Victoria Cross. As I said, get me the fuck out of here. This is not the country that I served 10 years in uniform to defend anymore.
Well, the sad thing is, if you think that you're going to be leaving Australia and, let's say you had your eyes on the United States and you thought, hey, someday I'd like to be in the United States. We're having the same damn fight here, Jack.
The difference is the Second Amendment. At least if this happened near me, I could shoot back and protect my family. That's the difference. And, I find it ironic that in the last election cycle, there was a couple of New South Wales politicians who very nearly got elected, who have been advocating for Australia to start embracing the idea of citizens' right to keep and bear arms because law enforcement is no longer effective. And wouldn't you know it, the predictable results, hey, there's a mass shooting in the area where these politicians used to campaign.
Imagine that. But see, you and I were speaking not long ago, a couple of hours ago on chat, I believe. And I was saying something, well, you had said, okay, people are pushing now for whatever the equivalent of a Second Amendment would be down under. And first thought in my little exploding head was, hey, that's a great idea, except that the amount of politicians now in Australia, divided by the square root of Muslims in Australia, equals this is the last damn time. This is not the time that any Australian would even remotely deign to cave on guns. So let me ask you this now, Jack. It's gotten out that these were two muzzies shooting Jews at Bondi Beach. And now what will be the official political Australian line in terms of, oh, well, now how are we going to counter this? Well, maybe they weren't real Muslims. Maybe they weren't true believers. How is it that you think, Jack Alexander, that the Australian government, I almost said your government, but I know better, that the Australian government, how are they going to winkle this around? How are they going to knead this like a lump
the
of
media's
clay?
already doing it. The media's already doing it. They're holding up the guy who wrestled the gun away as a true Muslim, a true peace-loving Muslim. None of the media, the only time they mention the M word is with relation to that guy. They never use the M word when referring to these other guys. It's like while the politicians, the premier of the state, the head of the police department, and so on, they're all happily using the T word, terrorism. No one in the mainstream media wants to even mention that. They call it a mass casualty incident or a mass shooting.
Jesus.
They aimed, allegedly aimed at the Jewish community. That's the sort of bullshit that's going on. So they're already spinning the narrative that the true peace-loving Muslim was the guy that wrestled the gun away.
Okay, well, then the next question must be, is there going to be an even greater push for firearms confiscations considering this incident?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They will turn around and say that even 5-round bolt 5-round magazines on bolt action rifles is way too much firepower.
And then perhaps you maybe anticipate that the government will craft new bills saying that, well, we've decided that a rifle, bolt or otherwise, except in extremely egregious circumstances, like, I don't know, I can't think of it, but except in those extremely rare cases, you're going to have to give all your rifles in now. I mean, this is an all or nothing case. And folks, can't you see in Australia, can't you determine in Australia that it's not worth 15 deaths for anyone to have a rifle? See what a rifle can do. And then I'm guessing that next will be shotguns. And then you're left with, wait a minute, I remember this. I remember Jack telling me this. Then, kids, you'll be left with slingshots. Except, Jack, no, you won't be left with slingshots.
Because slingshots are actually considered a firearm under Australian law.
And with that, ain't that great, Australians? Ain't that fabulous? Isn't that something to look forward to? Now, maybe if you had a rock or if you threw a beer bottle, but wait, if the beer bottle had actually come in contact with that guy, would the thrower be prosecuted?
Yes. On numerous occasions, people who have defended themselves have been charged. I know of but before the gun ban, and this happened before the gun ban in '96. Someone was breaking into the home of an elderly World War II veteran who still had his old Enfield 303 and shot and killed one of them.
Oh, damn him.
That guy wound up getting the elderly man wound up going to dying in jail, convicted of murder.
Well, I guess Australia showed him.
I know of a case of where a drug addict broke into a woman's apartment, drugged her, and raped her. She was HIV positive. She wound up on the offenders list because she didn't warn her rapist that she was HIV positive.
Of course
not. And up until the rapist died, she was responsible for her health, for his health care, his health bills, his hospital bills. I know of another case of a woman who was raped by an intruder. She chased him off, gashed him with a pair of scissors. When it came to the court day, the rape of this woman was not on the charge. They wanted to countercharge her for attacking him with scissors. If it wasn't the fact that the police prosecutor in this case had just come over from the rape a female sergeant just come over from the rape squad, the rape had been taken off the docket. And violent crimes, especially here in Victoria, which is now big, from some of the reports I've read today, is now the most crime-ridden state in the country. It is has the highest amount of violent crime in the country. We've got Asian gangs walking around with machetes. So what do? They banned machetes. You can't. You need to get special police permission if you practice the martial arts to go out and buy a katana for your sport.
You can't write this stuff. You absolutely cannot write how ridiculous this is.
I mean, there was one stage here where there was a large series of sword and machete attacks by Asian street gangs. So they banned machetes. So they and long blades. So these groups got up with just standard home, cooking knives. Oh, okay. So now we've got to not sell those to anyone under 18. And then, well, okay, if we can't easily access those, then they were just going out and buying, your standard cutlery that you would have dinner with, getting a sharpening stone, putting a nice sharp edge on it, and then they were using that. Oh, well, now you've got to get ID to buy cutlery. That didn't stop it. They went and bought plastic, picnic cutlery, the disposable plastic cutlery, melting two of them together like a prison shank.
I was going to say, like
Sharpening
somebody
that
in
up.
prison or a jail would do.
Exactly. So now you had to buy. Well, not you can buy plastic cutlery anymore because of the single-use plastics ban here. But even to buy the wooden picnic cutlery, you've got to show fucking ID. And this stuff, even if you sharpened it, wouldn't be able to cut a soft room temperature butter. This is sort of absolute stupidity that's going on.
But
And
guaranteed,
the problem is most in the public are not educated enough to realize that this is just an open door to allow government more and more control.
power and
I would
control.
not be surprised to find out that there is a government connection to one of these guys.
Well, the government won't let you protect yourself. And you can't protect yourself. And law enforcement in many agencies won't protect you, perhaps under the guise of we don't have enough people, or mostly the subtext of that is we're not interested in protecting you. We're interested in protecting the illegal invader because we feel guilty and sorry for them.
Do you know what 95% of law enforcement are doing at this time in Australia?
I'm sure you're going to tell me. I think I know.
They're issuing traffic. No, they're out issuing traffic citations for the holidays.
Well, dude, it's a moneymaker.
Well, yeah, it's a moneymaker, and in Australia, you get double during the holidays. You get double demerit points and double the financial penalty.
Well, aren't you lucky? Aren't you Australians? Wow, you are scads of lucky. Let me get through this video here so that folks, you can see a little bit of what occurred. This is again the shooting, the Hanukkah shooting at Bondi Beach in Sydney.
Is that the drone footage? No, that's from the building.
Now, it appears as though one of them dropped a long gun, but they're still firing.
Yeah. He did drop one and then picked up another weapon. There is drone footage available. Somebody had been able to park a drone directly overhead. That drone operator is actually now in trouble with law enforcement as well.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Illegally operating the drone over a public event that had a TFR, temporary flight restriction. He was operating the drone in an area where he wasn't supposed to.
Oh my God. This is why Australia is doomed. This is why the UK is doomed. This is why Europe is doomed. And this is why people want to doom the United States of America. I'm looking at another screen right now, and I thought that I had embiggened this, and apparently it's bigger. Or is it bigger when I do that?
No.
Okay. Let me isolate it again. but they're still on what appeared to be that overpass.
Yeah.
And that appears to be the highest ground there is in that particular area. And if you're going to fire, you fire from the highest ground you have.
Well, not only that, not only is it the highest ground, most small arms are not going to penetrate the brick and concrete structure. So even when Victoria Police did turn up and actually start returning fire, you know, that they were in essentially a fortified position. You just walked back and picked up another gun.
Oh yeah, that's the one that he had dropped.
By this stage, his father has been shot and put down.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yes. We already saw that video. But see, if, let's say, for example, you're on that building and you're armed and you're...
I would even with a 22 caliber handgun,
even
I
with
would have taken the shot.
A handgun from that range, and if you'd fired a number of rounds, you might have convinced him to stop, or you might have even been able to stop him and put him down.
Or at least kept his head down long enough for law enforcement to form up to actually storm the location. I mean, there's a heap of other possibilities that could have happened if just one person was one member of the public was able to return fire.
So it's just, oh, wait. Here we go. This must be what you were talking about.
Yeah.
There's no sound, but it indicates drone footage of the gunman being taken out. And let me see if I can increase that.
Try the other square next to it.
Now, the one that's down already is the dad?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes,
so that
it was.
That was the son that was struck.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's leaking hydraulic fluid.
He's now leaking hydraulic fluid, yeah.
And the dad is in not real good shape right now.
Yeah, he went down like the sack of shit he was when he went down from the footage I saw, which was at probably the same level as the overpass. Within them, they must have been just shy of those steps.
Okay, now at this point, who is shooting at the gunman?
It would only be Victoria, New South Wales Police.
Okay. And do you believe that this drone footage is the footage that Australia is? This is the footage that you were talking about, where the pilot of this was subsequently arrested.
Hasn't been arrested, but I believe they are going to under our aviation rules, because he was operating the drone in an area that had a TFR, and also Bondi Beach is very close to the approach for Sydney International Airport. So yeah, operating a drone in that area would have is probably normally illegal.
Okay. All right. Anyway, we went through that. Let me go through this, and then oh shoot, because I said that there aren't going to be any breaks here. Let me just let everybody know this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And then I want to put this up, and then I think I have, I have one more article that I'd like you to weigh in on. But this I want to make sure that I get the appropriate update for this. And there is a new update in terms of the Brown University shooting. So 2 people were killed, 9 others were injured. He was a guy by the name whose name I will mention once and then never again because it's immaterial. Benjamin Erickson, 24, was a U.S. Army infantry soldier with sniper training. People went to his LinkedIn profile, and it shows he's a decorated soldier in the U.S. Army, passed sniper training, had experience with different types of firearms, and served as a rifleman from 21 through 24. He was taking classes from University of Wisconsin-Madison, focusing on psychology, but transferred to Brown for the fall semester once his military service ended. So there will be more on that. I was wondering if, because one of the people that was an instructor in one of the classrooms it was targeted was a Jewish professor. So I was wondering, okay, is there a link? Apparently at this point, because see, Jack, you and I both know, and you and I both recognize that in a shooting or an event that is challenging for the American media maggots, the longer that a name or an age or a relationship or a religion is not mentioned, the more the hairs on the back of your neck stick up and your spidey sense begins to tingle, because we've been abused or disabused of thinking of good logical reasons for these things, and we've been dragged kicking and screaming into the conspiracist category because we've discovered, well, most of our conspiracy crap has turned out to be correct. Imagine that.
Yeah, as I pointed out, a little while ago, me mentioning that the guy who wrestled the gun away from him, being Muslim, doesn't violate any broadcast laws. Me mentioning that these guys were Muslim actually violates the Racial Vilification in Media Act. So that's one of the reasons why I know a lot of the media are not mentioning it, because that somebody's going to turn around and say, no, you're racially vilifying all the Muslims, but I mean, it's not anyone else that's doing this shit. You're not vilifying a whole group when you're pointing out that they're the only ones that are committing these crimes.
Well, we'll see where
this whole it's stupid that it's got to this stage with race. I mean, you're a detective for many years. I mean, now police are not allowed to note down that whether the perpetrator was black or not. Well, if it was a black man that held up the liquor store, it's pointless questioning the white guy that happened to be in the area.
Jesus, you are not
the Asian guy.
God, Jack, I'm surprised I continue to have you, because you are not in keeping with Gaia's great plan in terms of understanding the hierarchy of victimhood. Do you?
Well, I figure if I'm going to break the law, when it comes to cover this and put my family at risk, I might as well jump in with both feet at this stage.
Okay, wait. I just looked at chat, and Mission Ready Men, Earl Jackson of the Mission Ready Men show here on SHR, said Brown University suspect has been released. Okay. I don't, Earl, I'm going to continue with the show, but if you have any links, maybe you can put them in chat or send them to me. And I can look and see. Okay, let me go back to that story. As a matter of fact, okay, here's the story. This was updated at 9:18 Eastern, which is another time zone, which is unapplicable here because it says Brown University suspect unmasked, but I don't see anything. And I'm going to have to look around and see if I can find this. Unless this guy with this name it was discovered subsequently, had nothing to do with it. This is brand new as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that would also not be uncommon for the American media. There was the cinema shooting in Aurora, Colorado. When that happened, they found someone who had the same name, way older, and they went to air and mastered. Here's his web pages and so on. Lived close to the area. The only thing in common he had was the name. Turned out to be not the guy. They were forced to retract the question and went straight back to blaming him again.
Okay, keep talking for just a minute or two. I'm about to put something on the screen here, and this verifies that Earl was correct. Here's a new story. This just came out, AP, at 11:33 p.m. Eastern, which was 8:33 Pacific, where I am. Authorities say they will release the person of interest detained in the Brown University shooting after an investigation took law enforcement authorities in a different direction, officials said Sunday night. The disclosure made at a hastily convened late. Oh, this is another thing that just came in with Rob Reiner, because I'm looking at the TV. While I'm looking at this, I have a TV on in my studio all the time, and I'll tell you guys about this very briefly because I just saw this on the television. In any event, the conference, the investigation into the killings that rattled the Ivy League campus and came more than 12 hours after officials said they'd taken a person into custody in connection. And the release means that, of course, whoever really is the true suspect on this may, in fact, still be around and at large and possibly armed. So the thought plickens and continues.
I think it's stupid when police chiefs mention, "Hey, we've got someone in custody."
Well,
yeah, we because if they've got the wrong person, which it appears they have in this case, they've given the bad guy time to get away, because all of their focus is now on this guy.
And then, okay, Mayor Brett Smiley says, we know that this likely will cause fresh anxiety for our community. Imagine that. So they were looking over here. Now they're looking over here. And now as I'm looking at my television set, I haven't had a chance to go into the news to find anything about this. And the people out there already, you may know more information than I do about this. But I'm looking at Newsmax says Governor Newsom releases statement on apparent death of Rob Reiner and his wife. Earlier statements said that 2 people were found dead in Rob Reiner's house. That was about 5 minutes ago as I was talking to you about Brown University. And now on the screen, Governor Newsom is apparently confirming that Rob Reiner and his wife have died. So as you and I both know, when you have a situation like that and 2 people, a couple, are dead, it's generally going to be a murder-suicide, or it's going to be a murder from somebody directly inside the family or someone associated with the family. So this is all I have at this point.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the TMZ report at the moment.
Okay.
Rob Reiner, the legendary director, and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, have died, as TMZ has learned. As we told you, 2 dead bodies were found in Rob and Michelle's Brentwood home Sunday afternoon. Law enforcement.
So this is fun. This is fun. This is why I love doing the show. And I love doing a live show, because Mission Ready Men said killed by their drug addict son. I've got great people in chat. And then again, that's why live shows are so cool. Podcasts, not so much. I'm not interested in
our sources say the 2 suffered injuries, laceration injuries consistent with a knife.
Okay, that's going to be bizarre.
I mean, they haven't mentioned this report. When was it published?
And this is also interesting. Simone says in chat, welcome, Simone. Brown shooter was transgender, went under reassignment, used they, them. Okay, that's another one of those if-then equations. If that information is known, then is that why they released the sniper, the Army sniper, and they're focusing on somebody else? Because, I'm running the show. I don't have the ability to get in and look at a lot of stories, because hell, it's difficult enough for a fat dude like me to produce the show. But this is very interesting. Rob Reiner, like I say, after 41 years in law enforcement, immediately to me, this screams murder suicide. But I've been wrong before, and I could be wrong again. And Simone says, Rob Reiner and wife stabbed by son. Again, really, the thought does plicken. Okay, this has been a bizarre night. I mean, I was thinking Thursday night after having you on, I thought, I was brimming through with politics. Just politics. Oh, let me stop and do this. Now they're going back to saying 2 people found dead in LA mansion. No one detained after 2 found dead in LA mansion owned by actor-director Rob Reiner. But that's one part of the spectrum. The other part is that Newsom has said, oh, well, it is Rob Reiner and his wife. Let me go back to this, because I didn't really get a chance. I wanted to get everybody a little bit of a Jake update. And Jake is, when he was having great times, he weighed probably 25 pounds. And so we just took a road trip, probably Jake's last road trip, to a place that he had been before. And I'll put this photo up. Before he went there, we've been having to give him food by open syringe and water by syringe. And then IV, we bag him IV. Mrs. BZ was a vet tech and knows how to do all that cool stuff. Well, then the other day, Jake shocked the crap out of us. First, he ate about 7 pieces of steak. He instantly perked up and ate 7 pieces of steak about 4 or 5 days ago. Then Mrs. BZ said, maybe I'll go to Costco. I'll get one of those rotisserie chickens, because he used to love rotisserie chickens. He's about 10.3 pounds now. He looks like a poor, emaciated Indian cow, and brought the Costco chicken back. And this is him nomming through the Costco chicken pieces. Before that, he hadn't eaten any solid food in over a month. And yet one night he goes through 7 pieces of steak. And then the subsequent night, this is him going through the chimkin. And then, so this is Jake on our last trip from Califailure to here. Now, we didn't know this existed. There was a cafe right off of 97, east and west, 97. This is in Washington, in a little town called Ritzy. And we saw it from the freeway and we thought, Jake's Cafe. Damn. On March 26, 2022, we said, hey, let's stop. Let's take a picture of Jake in front of Jake's Cafe. And this was our final trip to our new house in Nof, Idaho. So this is his picture. This is Jake 3 years ago in front of Jake's Cafe. So we thought, wouldn't it be kind of cool if on his last road trip, we take him back to Jake's Cafe? And so this is what we did Saturday during the day. And this is in Washington. You may or may not be able to see the difference, but there he's a little 24-pound chunkaroo. And this is him. Well, he had vision here. His right eye was going, but he could still see out of his left eye. And here, his right eye he's totally blind, and he's got a bad eye in his left eye. And basically, I think all he sees likely are just shapes, colors, light. But this guy still takes himself out to go poo and pee at night and during the day. Just a fabulous kid. But there's not an inch of fat on this guy, which is why we've got 2 coats on him. And then when he sleeps here at night, he's got a 3rd coat on him. So we took him out to a road trip, and he came back. We gave him an IV bag tonight of water. So Mrs. BZ took him to the vet, and the vet said something similar to, "You're kidding? He's still here?" To which, we said, not only is he still here, I forgot another thing. He doesn't drink water, except for the past 3 or 4 days and nights. Not only has he eaten steak and chimkin, but he's paused at the water bowl to drink water himself. He's not getting all the water that he needs, so we're augmenting that with the syringes of water and with the IV bag. But he's still here. He's still here. There's our Jake update. Holy moly. Glad I did that. Almost forgot to do that. But
you just asked about the call for more gun controls. The Prime Minister has just come out and said they're going to shake it all up.
Okay, what does that mean?
I don't know. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced a short time ago that he will push for tougher gun laws following the horrific Bondi Beach massacre. I didn't get this, so I turned on my VPN again, and Albanese confirmed that he would raise the matter at an emergency national cabinet meeting this afternoon, with possible changes including the limits of the number of guns licensed to a single individual.
Of course, because you wouldn't want to let no one have any guns. Why would you let them have multiple guns when in fact you could simply make sure that you take absolutely everything away?
And people's circumstances can change. People can be radicalized over a period of time. Licenses should not be in perpetuity, he said. If we need to tighten these up, if there is anything that we can do, I'm certainly up for it.
Okay, I think I found a similar article. And
this is from the Daily Mail in the UK. I mean, I had to get this from a UK newspaper.
Here's one from the Daily Star. I don't know from whence this source is. Maybe it's Australian. It says Australia. Australian PM proposes tougher gun laws after Bondi mass shooting. The government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws. So Australians, aren't you lucky? He confirmed that one of the assailants was licensed to hold 6 firearms. So there you go. The number is apparently important. You shouldn't be able to have 6 Why should you ever be able to have 6? My God, that's, well, 6 too many.
And further on the article that I've got here, they mentioned that when the Port Arthur shooting happened and 35 were killed at Port Arthur in Tasmania, it took the Howard government back in '96 just 2 weeks to knee jerk the gun ban that went back there. It restricted limits on automatic and semi-automatic weapons, launched a government buyback scheme, which was supposed to pay market, fair prices for the weapons. That when the government realized just how much that was going to cost, it became scrap prices. I know, I got caught with it. It created a national firearms registry. It included mandatory waiting periods on gun sales. Also, states expanded on that with having to beg the government for permission to purchase ammunition. And that even includes for pellet guns. Now, imagine if
like BB guns, pellet
like
guns,
BB guns,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, your Daisy Red Ryder, which at its worst might take out an eye, is considered a firearm here.
You're losing an eye. Mission Ready Men in chat says, because disarming everyone made them safe on Bondi Beach or something. And
Yeah.
Simone says, oh, yeah, tougher gun laws because criminals obey laws.
Well, that's just it. I mean, here we have 2 mass murderers who used the law to their advantage to then perpetrate these crimes.
Yeah, but you poor sods, you really don't deserve firearms. That's what you have cops for. Geez, to arrest you for making snarky comments. That's why they exist.
But you can never find a cop when you need them because they're all out on the bloody highway pulling people over for random breath tests to see whether they've been, for random DUI checks. I mean, that will rock. We in Victoria and in other states here, they have custom-built mobile police stations with cells. They will rock up, block off the road, and there's nothing. The only thing random about it is the road they pick, because they will breathalyze every single person going through.
Well, apparently people
they've
are
got
not
armies of cops
down.
for that. They've got armies of cops out writing tickets with double points and double penalties at the moment, because it's the holidays. There's no cops around for protection. Our local police station here, which admittedly it's a small country police station, has not been opened in 8 months.
I knew that's where you were going. I still don't understand why you guys don't feel protected, or at least taken advantage of fiscally.
Get me the hell out of here!
Like,
I've got to get seriously. I've got to get my family out of here.
Yeah,
because if something happens like that in my area, despite my weight and my lack of fitness, I'm going to go charging in there, and I'm going to be the one wind up getting charged. Just think I would have stopped if that had been me that arrested that off there. I would have, if the weapon, if it was the double barrel shotgun they're saying that they had, yeah, okay, it might have been out of ammo, but I would have started beating on the bastard.
No kidding. Then
I'd be the one charged. I'd be the one charged with assault and using excessive force.
Guaranteed from everything that you say. By the way, Mission Ready Man is leaving. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here on a crazy Sunday night. Earl is a working man, so he's got to get up early in the morning.
Good night, Earl. Merry Christmas, Earl.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Well, I will see Earl again. I'm thinking that I don't know what day it is, the week after Christmas, the day before New Year's Eve, a Tuesday night, I'm thinking about having an SHR show and having everybody on SHR go over what would be like the biggest news stories of the year. and what they think the most significant news stories were, and some of the biggest accomplishments, some of the biggest negatives, that kind of stuff. I got one more article. Jesus, you bastard. You know what I'm going to say next. I was hoping to catch you with your mouth full of water or something like that. Damn it, I didn't. But in any event, I got, folks, if you haven't noticed, I've been trying really hard to limit my F and S words. I mean, it was really difficult for this show. I've been trying.
And I go and spoil it.
I'm trying to be a better boy for 2026. I'm not all that terribly accomplished with it. So it is Sunday. People have to work. People have to get up in the morning. I get it. And I don't normally have a show on a Sunday night. So, and I know I'll never get close. See, let me put this up here right now. This is the last story that I want to discuss. Okay, loot all the tabs up there. I have so many tabs up there that, shoot, what is this? It's not Google. It's another browser. DuckDuckGo. Because I don't like my shit.
DuckDuckGo make a browser?
Yeah.
I know they got a search engine.
Oh, search engine. So I've got all the things in it. There are so many tabs up there on DuckDuckGo that it wouldn't let me put another tab. I had to hit the plus, and then it wouldn't let me access it. Now, I've never seen that before. I've never seen a point where I had so many tabs for a show where DuckDuckGo said, no, not doing this. No, too many. Don't even think about it. You are cut off, BZ. You're cut off. No more alcohol for you, mister. So this is the last story of the last show for Sunday. I will be back Tuesday night
with the rest of those stories.
Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not
having me on.
I'm not inviting Jack Alexander on the show, and then maybe I can get through some of the stories that I had lined up. But I want this last story to I want to talk about this last story, and then Jack, I want to have you weigh in, because to me, I don't think too many people noted the potential significance of this story, but I think it's extremely significant. Okay, so the Demorat governor, I can't think of her name. She's some kind of weird ass leftist lesbian bent. In Oregon, I believe. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, Democratic governor vows to arrest federal agents setting up a constitutional crisis. They will be held accountable. So here's the deal. I worked for the feds, and depending upon my job, there are, just like in Califailure, there were certain sets of penal codes in Califailure that had to do with the types of jobs that you had as law enforcement. And these sections allowed you to be a peace officer in Califailure and protected you, showed your limitations, your powers of arrest, all of those things. And when you're doing your job as ascribed, then you are covered and you are available to make arrests. Now, as a federal agent doing whatever it was that I was doing at the time, I had to be operating lawfully under various statutes of the USC, which is the United States Code. And if presented as this person is attempting to show here, she's trying to foment a constitutional crisis that, well and truly, I believe this has to be addressed sooner or later in some fashion, but not the way that she's doing it. So what I believe she's saying, because I'm trying to read between the lines, I don't have a story for this per se, and this was so late, last portion. This is why the show was late. I was trying to put this in and a few other overlays. But essentially what she's saying is that, and this is directed intentionally at ICE, whose job it is essentially to only pick up illegals under a host of different situations and then take them into custody. Warrants, detainers, or otherwise. That's their entire raison d'etre, as the French said, reason for existence, is to do that. That's ICE. And so, Jack, my pulling out, what I'm taking out of this is that she would like to see local law enforcement brace ICE officers up until including the point where I believe she hopes that ICE will surrender and go away. ICE is operating under a set of laws within that. And so, Zihara, hi guys. Kiwi. I didn't know that Zihara was Kiwi. So, hey, okay, cool. Good to see you here. Good to see Sean. I just saw him in chat. So essentially, what I said up here was, you can be guaranteed that as a federal agent, I would never have relinquished or surrendered my firearm in the face of a threat from a local politician or a local law enforcement officer if I was in the process of executing my lawful duties within the scope of the assignment that I had under various USC statutes. In this case, statutes that guide ICE, why they are here, why they exist. So I'm interpreting this to mean people like her essentially demanding that folks get hurt or shot, and she is pitting one level of law enforcement potentially against another level of law enforcement and the officers themselves. And so what I said in conclusion was, you know what, if you want a war, this is one way to accomplish this goal, because I think we're going for a civil war. Don't know where, someplace on this planet. Hope it's Australia, probably won't be. Too many cowards. Hope it's UK, probably won't be. Too many cowards. Who's the best armed nation around? Where is the greatest potentiality for CW2, as I call it? Likely the United States of America. I'm not pushing. Leftists are pushing. But I think she would be truly gladdened and heartened if some law enforcement officer braced a federal law enforcement officer, disarmed them, and took them into custody. Now, a true federal law enforcement officer operating under the strictures of his job definition and assignment would never surrender a firearm. Another BZ if-then equation. If no surrendering of a firearm will occur after having been braced by local or state law enforcement authorities, what happens next? Now, people are saying, BZ, that'll never happen. That's way too crazy. Well, who's pushing for it? Not the feds. So you keep up this kind of violent, divisive rhetoric, and sooner or later, fucking bints like this are going to get their wish. And they're not happy until bodies are laid of those who support Trump or support the second or support the first or support the Bill of Rights. Because all of those, the Constitution, the Founding Fathers, the Bill of Rights, they were all racists. And they were all, it needs to be a living document, don't you see? Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, I wouldn't, if I was advising on a new constitution these days for a new country, it wouldn't be the U.S. Constitution. Oh, no. The U.S. Constitution limits government. Government should never be limited in any way. And so, Jack Alexander, am I just, God, BZ, one night, I'm going to find some foil and fit some foil around my head of us down around up to about here near my beard and in the back of my head. And because I'm a tinfoil hat wearing forker. How do you interpret this?
You better get 2 packets of tinfoil, and so I got some. Before I answer, I want to ask a clarifying question. Given the professional indemnity that cops enjoy, which is needed for them to carry out the work, obstruction of justice, that would have to fall outside of that immunity, wouldn't it?
Stop. Qualified immunity is gone in California. Politicians removed qualified immunity in California. Now, I haven't looked into Idaho laws. My guess would be because Oregon and Washington laws are similar and the leftist mindsets are similar. I should not be surprised if qualified immunity was removed from officers in Washington and Oregon. That's a hypothesis by me, but I know for a fact in Califailure, officers no longer enjoy qualified immunity.
Well, I know how I'd, if I was leading the task force, how I would handle this. And I might get some hate for this, but fuck it. I would have a primary unit doing the arrest, a secondary unit waiting in the wings for these local Leo clowns to turn up under illegal orders, and basically surround them, overwhelm them with superior firepower that they know they're not going to win this fight, and have immediately take them into custody for obstruction of justice. At the same time that's happening, I would have a tertiary group raiding the local police office and the politicians that are pushing this, arresting them under obstruction of justice charges. Believe me, when the politicians that are and the chiefs of police, the public servants that are ordering this, start getting arrested, this behavior will stop really fast.
Well, I still think that sooner or later, all of this is going to have to go up to SCOTUS. So I'll try to
this would force them to go to SCOTUS.
I'm trying to be as, what's the proper word? As grudgingly conciliatory as possible. I'm trying to look at it in the nicest light, that she's trying to force the issue so that an event occurs necessitating this going to court, and then waiting to see where subsequently it does go. Federal court, state Supreme Court, federal district court, federal court of appeals, eventually SCOTUS. But somebody somewhere has to clarify these rules. And so in the kindest terms, I'm trying to think of maybe this is her goal. In the worst terms, she's fomenting officers being shot.
Yeah.
Is there a happy medium of those? I don't believe so.
I mean, even just the threat of this is probably criminal. The threat that these guys that these politicians are making, I think, is probably criminal, and it's certainly seditious, and that their rhetoric is probably going to get someone killed, which then raises the question: well, does manslaughter start to slip into this? If this gets to a situation where it winds up in a gunfight because of the rhetoric this is put forward, can they be linked to that through as an accessory to manslaughter?
Okay, I found and I swear, folks, I swear. Okay, I'm going to have to take one of these stories out to even put it up here. Now, you know what? My tabs are over tabbed. Jesus, I can't even try that. Okay, so I found, this is from Oregon. So I found, I believe, the applicable story. This is from Oregon Capitol Chronicle. Oregon Democrats push for charging federal agents with state law. Police say not so fast. The Portland Police and Multnomah County District Attorney's Office contend a growing assertion by Democratic politicians and left-leaning legal scholars that states can arrest federal agents will not work. But this is at the point where you say, well, they don't care. They don't care at all. And by the way, there's a special immunity enjoyed by politicians. And it's not just qualified immunity. It has a very specific term. The first of the two words I cannot recall, but it's a further form of qualified immunity politicians enjoy, which is
parliamentary privilege,
like a total immunity, complete immunity. I submit the first thing that has to go is any form of qualified immunity or any immunity whatsoever for politicians.
I believe that if it's what I believe it is, at least under English/Australian law, it's called parliamentary privilege. But there are limits on it, on where it applies. It only applies on the floor of the chamber floor of the convening authority. So, like on the the state legislature's floor. If they go outside and say something that they're now no longer covered. I unfortunately I know that politicians in the US, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a good one. Was that other crackpot from Texas? Damn, I've forgotten her name off the top of my head. That was screaming her tits off to, you see one of them bastards out there, you get in their face and you push back. Saying that on the legislature floor is protected. Saying it out on the public street is not protected. Yet, at least under the way parliamentary privilege is applied here, because what they're doing is they're advocating for violence in the public forum. Now, the First Amendment protections do not protect anyone from advocating for the commission of a crime in a public forum. And that's what they're doing. So maybe the easiest way to deal with this is go straight up to the government. You are now under arrest for incitement or whatever they can do, even if it's going to get thrown out of court. Right? Just start arresting them and charging them on this stuff. And believe me, a lot of these people will go away. They will not think it's worth the trouble.
I'm looking in the back. I had an article and a story about this probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, so I'm trying to find it and I'm not discovering it. But I believe that politicians enjoy a type of immunity, at least in the United States, that goes well above qualified immunity. And for these are the two desires, the two desired outcomes that I see from her. This is Oregon, the Oregon governor. And I cannot help but believe that she's hoping that someone will lay a body behind this. You cannot convince me otherwise.
No. The politicians love, the body count. They don't. Seriously, most politicians do not consider us as human. We're numbers to be manipulated.
Well, and they exist for no other reason than to embiggen their own wallets, etc.
Yeah,
folks, I have run out of time. Essentially, it's Sunday night. It's already almost 1 a.m. Eastern. What time is it where you are tomorrow, Jack?
It is 10 minutes to 5 in the Monday afternoon.
Okay, so you're not far from eating din din right now, tomorrow. That's why I say tomorrow's news today with Jack Alexander. So today, right now, Pacific, where I am, it's December the 14th, the year of our Lord, 2025. Because of the topics and the subject matter today, I wasn't wearing my reindeer horns, or my Santa cap will probably be here. 6:49 p.m. in New Zealand, says Zihara. Nice.
Choice, as they say in New Zealand.
Choice. Quite choice. So thanks to everybody for being here. Kia ora, Jack.
Thanks, Zahara. Kia ora.
So it's a special language spoken only by persons down under. We're not meant to see or understand. Don't try this at home, folks.
I believe it's Maori for hello.
Oh, okay, cool. Truly an international show. Jack, my thoughts are with you, your family, and your nation. So saith Sean Lewis from The Edge of Liberty. And that's it, folks. I'm tapped out. I don't think I'm having Jack back on until, I don't know, maybe 2027, right around in there. Because if there was anybody who was well equipped to piss on my flintlock, well, it's Jack Alexander. Jeez, oh, pizza. So I'll be back Tuesday night with so many things to talk about, and you can be guaranteed, folks, that something more egregious or stupid or silly or fattening will occur between Sunday night and the end of this show and Tuesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, where the fat bastard will be back. Absent Jack Alexander, that's guaranteed, mister. I'm telling you. Why I oughta.
Oh, man.
You know, Jack reminds me of me. I used to do this on Ken McClinton's show. Ken would want me to be on his show on Monday nights. And Ken would say, okay, before we get on, this is what I want to talk about. Blah, 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 blah. Then my job when I got on Ken's show was to make sure that I inserted as much stuff as humanly possible to make sure that I would derail his topics, and we had to talk about what I wanted to talk about. And then by the end of the show, he'd say and lament that, you know, I never got to talk about what I wanted to talk to you about. And that's true. Phantom says, what about happy stories? Well, yeah. Hello. Yeah. Got a shitload of happy stories that I have not been able to regale anyone with since last Thursday night. Comma. Damn it. It's all your
Janet.
fault. Damn it, Janet. It's all your fault, monsieur. I'm telling you right now.
You think it's bad now? Could you imagine if either of us were actually in the same room doing this?
There were 4 words that came to my immediate mind when you said that. Alcohol may be involved. Just kind of throwing it out there for you. So anyway, Jack, thank you. I swear I will have you back. You know, this is just good nature.
Yeah.
Me being the fat guy ribbing.
I mean, well, look, me being the source closest to what's going on here, it was logical.
Well, it was logical. Yes, it was. And if anything silly, stupid, or fattening happens again in the interim time, like, you know, it's the world today. And we face the world today. It's like Groundhog Day. Every day is a brand new day. Yesterday means nothing. The only thing is, it's like it's a dog's world. Dogs live for today. They can't think about tomorrow. So eat all the food you can and drink all the beverages you can while you're still here and alive, folks. Do it. And there we go. This is mine. That was Jack's. Jack, aloha, dude. I will see you a little bit later.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Okay, and with that, I have no other alternative except to So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct tonight on Sunday night, December the 14th. Shoot, what do we got? A week till Thanksgiving. Jesus, wake up. Till Christmas. Definitely Christmas. Thanks. So on a weird night, a Sunday night, thanks for being here. Oddly enough, looking up here, I got some fairly decent numbers. I'll find out how that translates a little bit differently, because I don't believe the numbers from social media. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure and Electro Voice microphones, Arrakis boards, the people that make my mixer, and Pratt & Whitney engines, dependable engines yielding thrust you can trust. Thanks to Jack Alexander for being here tonight. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, whom I will be consorting in less than 10 minutes. And God bless every one of you for listening live and being in the chat. And thanks to KLRN. God bless you all.
Everybody. Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy. Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth. Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob. What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing? Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, and good luck.